Good morning again. I've been involved in multiple presentations and award ceremonies during my term as board chair, but getting to introduce Dale Dawson today is a very special treat for me. Before I start, I would like to welcome Dale's mother, Jewel, his wife, Judy, his son, Jack, and his daughter, Catherine. We're so glad you're here. We are also honored to have Matilda Mukantabana, Rwanda's ambassador to the United States, with us this morning. This is her second visit to Hendrix, and I get closer to pronouncing her name correctly every time. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining us on this special occasion. Dale has been a friend of mine for almost 30 years, but it takes just a few minutes to appreciate what an exceptionally energetic, adventurous, and entrepreneurial person he is. The most impressive thing to me, though, was when Dale decided to give up a very successful and lucrative business career and dedicate the second half of his life to helping other people improve their lives and to inspire other people to do the same. Now, this was a real shock to those of us who were Dale's business associates, and it was particularly troublesome when it became apparent that he was much happier and having a lot of fun. It was during that time in 2004 that I received a last-minute invitation to go on a trip to Rwanda and Uganda with two of our mutual friends. My assignment was to be the group photographer. We were scheduled to leave in only 3 weeks, so I scrambled to rearrange my calendar, and 9 shots and a handful of malaria tablets later, I boarded the flight on the first leg of our 2-day trip to Kigali. A few days after that, we were in a well-worn Land Rover headed to the Sunrise School, a recently founded boarding school for children who had lost one or both of their parents in the 1994 genocide. It's located in a remote town ringed by the volcanic mountains that are home to the family of mountain gorillas made famous by Diane Fossey in her book, Gorillas in the Mist. 4 major developments grew out of that first Africa trip. Dale became a driving force behind the completion of the Sunrise Secondary School that was then under construction, raising funds, recruiting personnel, and procuring clothing, supplies, and equipment. That project was completed over a period of several years, and the Sunrise School, with an enrollment of over 700, now consistently ranks among the top tier of all Rwandan K-12 schools based on national test scores. Our next stop was in Kampala to visit an established microfinance bank that made small loans to villagers all across Uganda, most of whom were women. Those loans funded local business ventures that helped thousands of poor parents build homes and feed and clothe their families. It was Dale's goal to found an affiliated microfinance bank in Kigali, which he accomplished in just a few years. He then arranged for the acquisition of another Kigali bank, resulting in the largest microfinance bank in Rwanda with over 300,000 customers. He was actively involved in the management of the bank and served on its board for many years. Dale also worked closely with the Hendrix team that founded the Hendrix Rwanda Presidential Scholars Program. On the ground in Rwanda, as we set up the program and interviewed potential students, and in the U.S., as we grew the program into a consortium of 18 colleges and universities that have awarded four-year scholarship to 186 of Rwanda's brightest young scholars. 41 of them matriculated at Hendrix, including the 5 who are graduating here today. Finally, the Hendrix program became the prototype for Dale's own Bridge to Rwanda Scholars Program that he founded in 2011. That highly selective program provides high school graduates with a gap year of in-residence instruction in Kigali that includes English language training, college admissions test preparation, and career and guidance counseling, all leading to scholarships at top colleges in the US, Germany, and Canada. Cumulative enrollment for the B2R program now stands at 214 students, and the 41 students from the class of 2016 are currently studying at some of this country's best colleges and universities, including all of the Ivy League schools, MIT, Georgetown, Notre Dame, Northwestern, the Claremont colleges, and of course, Hendrix. Now, I could also tell you about the first half of Dale's life when he was the national director of KPMG's insurance practice, or the head of the investment banking department at Stephens Inc., or the CEO of a large chain of truck park stores. But the Rwanda stuff is just way more cool. I am so pleased that Dale is receiving an honorary doctoral degree from Hendrix today. He is most deserving. His life's work truly embodies and exemplifies our Hendrix motto, unto the whole person. Please join me in welcoming Dale Dawson.
Hendrix College's mission is summarized in its motto, found in Paul's letter to Ephesians and translated from the Greek as unto the whole person. At its most expansive, wholeness is a quality that is both inner and other-directed, implying not just the realization of an individual personality, but a deep connection to others. Dale Dawson represents the ideal of the whole person in its fullest expression.
With the authority given to me by the trustees of Hendrix College and upon the recommendation of the faculty, and in recognition of your life of accomplishment and service, I hereby confer upon you, Dale Dawson, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters with all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. Congratulations, Dale. Let's get a photo here. Dale, it's a real pleasure to present you with your diploma and your hood, and we now invite you to make your remarks.
Thank you. Thank you, David, President Setsui, Provost, Ambassador Makantabana, to the Board of Trustees of Hendrix, to the faculty, to the administration, to all the parents and grandparents and friends that have gathered here for this great event, but especially a thank you to the Hendrix class of 2017. I have come to love Hendrix College, and I'm incredibly honored and grateful to receive this honorary degree from a school that I have come to admire for a long, long time. The truth is, I would not be here today were it not for the friendships and the engagement and the encouragement of the people of Rwanda to an extraordinary country, and to the 186 Rwanda presidential scholars, and to the 214 Bridge to Rwanda scholars. They are extraordinary people. People who are brilliant, who are kind, who are grateful, and who demonstrate to all of us what a life of purpose can really look like. I have been riding their wave for 15 years, and they make us all look a lot better. I also, if you don't know, I want to tell you a little bit about Rwanda. It had a horrible genocide 23 years ago in 1994. But coming out of that genocide, what they demonstrated to the world was the ability to dream big, to bounce back, to forgive, to reconcile, to unite around a common vision of becoming an extraordinary country. They have become students of the Asian tigers and the emerging economies of Asia, and they have a dream to become the Singapore of Africa. In just 23 years, today, Rwanda is the safest, the cleanest, the fastest growing, the least corrupt country in Africa. This last year, the United Nations announced that Rwanda is the fastest developing country in the world. It has been a blessing to me because of their generosity and their friendship to have had a front row seat to watch them change and to realize their dream over the last 15 years. I want to tell you how a little bit of this started. David came with us on our first trip to Africa in 2004, and when he came back, he was determined that he was going to build a bridge between Hendrix College and Rwanda. And we worked at this for 2 or 3 years, and eventually in 2007, 10 years ago this year, David organized a trip. And it was it was an amazing event to watch him put together a 2-week trip for Hendrix students. It included David, the president, the provost, faculty members, and a dozen students who all came to Hendrix to explore the country and to select the first 4 Rwanda presidential scholars. Now, I went to the University of Texas, and I love the University of Texas, but there was 50,000 people at that school. And I had never seen the interaction that I saw on that trip between faculty and administration and students that I saw at Hendrix College. I had no concept of what a private liberal arts education could be. I mean, in my university, I was a junior and had to get a job as a grader in the accounting department before I ever met a professor. But on that trip, every single student that came on that trip had developed their own agenda of what they wanted to study, what they wanted to explore, and what they wanted to do. And every moment of that trip, at meals, out in the field, the faculty members, the administrator, the president, and the provost were doing rigorous discussions and questions and asking these students what they thought and what they needed to explore more and what did they want to do. I was amazed and actually very jealous of the education that students were getting at Hendrix and the experience. It felt a lot more like real life learning. It was not institutional, it was not rote, it was real life. And it's the way you learn for your whole life. But what impressed me most was that Hendrix chose these 4 students to be presidential scholars. And over the next 7 or 8 years, Hendrix developed this program, the Rwanda Presidential Scholars Program, that, as David said, brought over 186 students to America and provided them scholarships. It was an extraordinarily innovative, entrepreneurial program and project that I don't know any other school could have or would have done. It demonstrated a commitment to global engagement, to diversity, and to building a window to the world that served both the Hendrix community and the country of Rwanda. I have always admired what David and Hendrix and the administration here was able to do. It was phenomenal, and you should be extraordinarily proud of that. During that trip in 2007, I had adopted a personal mission that my life mission was going to be to build a bridge from here to Rwanda and transform lives at both ends. And after that trip, I was so inspired by what Hendrix and the students had done is that I got David to help me, and we created a new nonprofit called Bridge to Rwanda. And the goal of the bridge was to expand the network of friends to Rwanda. It was to encourage investors to come and build businesses in Rwanda, and it was to create opportunities for the most promising students to have a chance to study abroad and come back. The program, as David said, was launched in 2011, and today we now have 214 students in 70 schools. The scholarships that these students have won have been phenomenal, but our primary goal is from the very beginning of the program through the 4 years that they're studying abroad is to keep them focused on what is it that they're going to offer back to their country, and how do they build a career back in Africa. There are 3 lessons that we've learned at Bridge to Rwanda over the last 15 years and with the Bridge to Rwanda Scholars Program. They have guided our work. They have developed Bridge to Rwanda. They are the cornerstone, the principles of the advice that we give to our Bridge to Rwanda scholars. But I think they're just as applicable to any young person who's graduating from college and beginning to look towards a career and what's next. There are 3 lessons that I want to mention very quickly. One is, build on your strengths. Let the fruit of your work grow on other people's trees. And remember that in a dark world, your light doesn't have to be very big to be bright. The first one is build on your strength. Everything we do starts with our God-given talents and helping our students figure out what are your talents, what are your strengths, what are you good at. Now, when I started at school, at the university, the first thing I learned is what I was not good at. Unlike so many of you here at Hendrix, I knew immediately that if it had anything to do with math or science or foreign languages or writing a paper, these were not going to be my areas of strength. But I did figure out that business and accounting was actually something that came easy to me. Most of our students who come into our program, in Africa, most bright students are encouraged that you need to study math and science. So when most of our scholars start our program, they all think they're going to be engineers or doctors. And over the next year and over the 4 years, we show them that that they may have a variety of skills, that there are lots of ways to contribute, and that there are many growth sectors in Africa that include business and construction and healthcare and engineering and IT and consumer sales and all kinds of things that they could be useful in. Our goal here is to help them, though, as they pursue through their life, to know what their strengths are. What is your circle of competence? The truth is, at Bridge to Rwanda, we've never had a grand strategy. We've never had any plan. Everything was built around what were the strengths and talents and experiences of the people who joined our team or who came within our circle of friends. That's how we develop strategy. That's how we figure out what to do. And as much as that applies to Bridge to Rwanda, the truth is it applies to all of us as individuals. When I started out with an accounting degree from the University of Texas, I went to work for one of these big accounting firms, and I was an accountant. And then I made a transition into becoming a corporate tax consultant. I left there to become an investment banker. I left there to become an entrepreneur and the CEO of a for-profit business. I left there to become the CEO of an international NGO. Every step along the way, there were three things I learned. One is I was not afraid to start over. That sometimes getting to a level of success or accomplishment in one area simply leaves you with the desire to figure out something else. So never be afraid to walk away from your success or the things that you've done and go find something else that stirs your imagination, something you want to learn, someone that you want to become. And always play to your strengths. Build on the things that you learn to go to the next level, to the next level, to the next level. And you don't know where that may take you, but building on your strength and following your God-given interest in learning is the way that you're going to move from one success to the next. The second lesson was, let the fruit of your work grow on other people's trees. Now, that's a relatively, I know, being a Hendrix student, you know that a life of significant meaning and purpose can't all be about yourself or your family. That it has to be focused on improving the lives of other people. Unfortunately, it was late in my life before I realized that. My grandfather was a West Texas cowboy and a Pentecostal preacher. My dad was a milkman, and my parents were family entrepreneurs. And when I got to the University of Texas, I decided about a year or two I needed to make a choice. Did I want to serve God? Did I want to be of service to lots of other people? Or did I want to go into business and be an entrepreneur? I chose business. And for the next 20 years, for the next 25 years, I focused my attention on my career, my family, and my own accomplishments. My life changed when I got to be about 50, and I got a real bad case of been there, done that. And it was like, I have to find something new that's going to be exciting and challenging and get me to the next level. And I met this Anglican bishop named John Rushahana. I'd never met an African before. I never met an Anglican bishop before. But he spoke 7 languages. He had a master's in the U.S. He came to my home, and he was excited, he was energized, he was passionate about trying to rebuild his country after the Rwandan genocide. After he left that night, I had a couple of thoughts. The first one is that when John goes to heaven, he's going to get a lot of attaboys. And the more I thought about it, being an adult Sunday school teacher at the Methodist Church was not really going to earn me the kind of attaboys that I really wanted. I asked John what I could do to help. Being a business guy, I didn't think there was much, but he told me, he said, what Rwanda needs, as much as education, is we need jobs. We need a vibrant economy. We need the ability of our best and brightest to be able to make money, to support their families, and to build this economy. And you're a businessman. You know how to build businesses. You know how to create businesses. You know how to help other people businesses. So why don't you spend your life building businesses in Rwanda? Having never been to Africa or a poor country, I thought it was a pretty crazy idea. I learned soon after that business can be an extraordinarily transformational tool in the right hands. I learned, Gallup did a survey a few years ago, that out of the 7 billion people that live in the world, the number one desire of more people in every country in the entire world is to have a good job. And if you look around the world, there are 3 billion people who need good jobs. And today, there's only 1.2 billion good jobs in the world. We have a 60% unemployment rate. And the most significant part to me and to those of us who make our living in business is that the way jobs are created is through entrepreneurs building small and medium-sized businesses. I realized at the age of 50 that entrepreneurship can be a divine calling, and that building businesses and helping people build businesses is a way to give people dignity, and it's a way for them to support their children and to better their lives. It changed my life to realize that my work could grow fruit on other people's trees in a very significant way. At Bridge to Rwanda Scholars, the issue is not about jobs for lots of people. It is a belief in the idea that we have to have leaders, that countries have to have leaders in order to sustain their momentum and to grow. So today, I adhere to an old Greek proverb that says that societies will grow strong when old men plant trees whose shade they will never sit in. The third lesson I wanted to give you is, in a dark world, your light doesn't have to be big to be bright. When I graduated from college, that first summer, I read a book, a novel, a memoir by William O. Douglas, who was the longest-serving U.S. Supreme Court judge. And out of a very long book, the quote or the statement that he made that affected me most at 22 years old was that man is at his worst running with the herd, for then individual responsibility is ignored and individual achievement is not put to the test. The challenge I took from that quote, and the challenge that I would present to you, is the need in this world to think for yourself. The only thing you control is how you respond to what others do to you and other things that happen to you. Resist the temptation to just go along. Don't be overwhelmed by the massiveness of the challenge, but hold on to hope. Do what you're called to do. At the Bridge to Rwanda Scholars Program, we believe that leadership and learning how to be a leader, the person that influences other people, is a critical skill. And we teach our scholars that if you want to be a leader, if you want to have a positive influence on other people, there are 2 things you need to do in any organization that you join or you become involved in. The first one is that you need to invest the time, take the time, to ask every single person in the organization about their family and their dreams. And the second thing you need to do is that whenever there's a task that no one wants to do, you volunteer. You do those 2 things, you will be the most influential leader of that group organization. And this world needs more quiet leaders who lead by service and with the heart of a servant. As an honorary graduate of Hendrix, I want you to know that I have come to love the vision description that I see around Hendrix, which is be you and be brilliant. It's a vision that embodies the spirit of Rwanda. It's a vision that embodies the lessons that we just shared about building on your strength, letting the fruit of your work grow up on other people's trees, think for yourself, hold on to hope, be a light in the darkness. Be you, be brilliant. As you conclude this chapter of your life and you begin the next, it is my wish for you. Be you, be brilliant. Thank you, and God bless.